Hey everyone, this is Mike, and I'm here with Dan from Kayfabe6, and we are going to be discussing the recent news of Brock Lesnar officially re-signing with the WWE yesterday, announcing it on ESPN, basically ending his MMA UFC career, and he has signed a 3-year contract with the WWE. So we definitely want to get this podcast up to see if either of us feel differently about what's going to happen at Mania. And will this change the plans? So, Dan, how do you feel? I bet you're excited about this.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. You know what? It does make the match a lot more interesting now, because I think if, first off, I love how they brought the whole outside, they made the storyline so real, how they were talking about unifying the UFC and WWE titles, right? That was really good and entertaining TV.
Yeah.
When it comes to Brock retiring from, or not even ever considering going back into mixed martial arts, I'm pretty sure that may have to do with WWE's contracts, because I think what I heard was after Punk, they now wanted to add UFC into the whole, within the non-compete clause realm.
Mm-hmm.
So, but honestly, I'm a lot more excited now for the main event at WrestleMania, considering there's a chance that Brock will, a really good chance and possibility Brock will hold on to this belt now.
Yeah, it seemed like his response seemed to be him, being 37 years of age and the mileage and, the great sort of favorable schedule he has right now with the WWE, working limited shows and, MMA and with UFC, although he only probably does about a couple fights a year, I guess, is the training and the beating that he mentioned that it really wears over time, right?
It's true. And even the older you get, the more likely you are to get knocked out. And even then, like his last fight was against one of the best kickboxers in the world who targeted his midsection from the intestine stuff, right? So I'm pretty sure, I'm not sure if his body can really do mixed martial arts anymore, because that's something around your abdominal region that you're always moving, you're constantly, it's a lot different compared to how his schedule is with WWE, especially for his age.
And like he even said in the interview that I saw, he mentioned, it's not just him thinking about himself. He has a wife, which is obviously Sable, and they have their kids. So obviously that's more reason for him to not put his health at risk. So I'm excited. I'm actually glad. I'm loving him being in WWE. Of course, I wish he was used a little bit differently, but just him staying on, I think, is great, because now this, gives us that uncertainty of WrestleMania. So I know when we briefly talked about it yesterday when the news broke, you said that you wish that they hadn't announced it, and now we're a day later. Do you feel the same way? Do you wish they sort of made us feel that there's a chance that was going to be his last match and then maybe announced it later?
I still stick with that, to be honest with you, because even last night I'm in my mind I'm trying to figure out why would that have happened, and it's kind of it gave me a little bit of a scare, because it made me think about was it done in a way to not take away from Roman's spotlight if Roman was to win the belt? So that's my only concern about it, right? But even then, I don't know, just the way the storyline was, it would have been nicer if it was kept to the very end, that you think he could have left with the title to UFC, very similar to when the Dudleys left ECW, winning the belts on the very last night and then losing it within the last 5 minutes to Dreamer and Raven. It's the same kind of scenario, which would have been cool.
What do you mean by taking the spotlight away from Roman? Do you mean if Roman won and then the next day it was announced that Rock re-signed?
It just depends on how kind of said, it really depended on how it had been delivered. Actually, that's where I would stand on where I would like it to have been to a little bit later. It just depends on how it would be done.
Right.
But
I hear that. I wish that it wasn't announced at all, to be honest, because I would have liked to go into that uncertainty, because now I feel that with it being announced, my expectations now are just, well, now he has to win. Mm-hmm. There's no reason for him to lose now. He's staying on.
No, exactly. And I wish there was more unpredictability with that. Yeah, I agree with you, absolutely.
Yeah. So now I've had to lower my own standards now and expectations, and I've programmed my mind that Reigns is going to win this thing, smack it dab in the middle of the ring clean, no cashin, and he'll have the confetti raining down at 10:53. That's what I think. I'm going to program my mind, because if I try to overthink this, I think a lot of people are going to be disappointed.
Yeah. They could, like,
No.
you know what? It's the cards are landing in exactly what we've been predicting lately, with regards to how they're building up the mid-card titles for the sake of if there is another part-time champion. So it really, like, you know, I mean, Lesnar signing on really does connect to those theories, right?
Right. So do you think? Okay, one, do you still think Reigns is leaving the champion on Sunday?
It goes back to the clash between Triple H and Vince, because I've heard what I'm hearing. Vince wants the plan to still stay with Roman, and Triple H is basically saying Lesnar should keep the belt.
Well, it sounds like now that Lesnar has re-signed, they're now okay with finalizing their actual plan. It sounded like they weren't really sure, but now that he's re-signed, they're going to finalize it. So, I mean, you're not going to know what's happening backstage. So just forget about Triple H. What we think is going on between them. Yeah. Like we're not going to know that up until Sunday anyway. So do you still feel that Reigns is leaving, or do you feel like Brock will retain, or do you feel like Roman will win, but we will see that double turn, which seems to be the one thing a lot of people are hoping for on Sunday?
I'm expecting the double turn, actually. Like, the seed was planted really early with the whole, they mentioned the connection between Heyman and the whole bloodline within, like, Roman's family. And then they're like really, really, really making it, kind of throwing it in your face that there's a good possibility that Roman Reigns could become a Heyman guy. Rather or not, it goes in the sense of Heyman helping Reigns win the belt, or Heyman turning on Brock and Brock still pulling it off. Yeah, I'm really still on the fence about that. Like, part of me hopes Lesnar keeps the belt, though. I'll admit that.
Yes, same here. So let's talk about if he does keep the belt. Do you expect anything differently, or do you think that? I assume he's only going to be appearing 4 times a year, though. Still, so is that the right decision to keep the belt on him and using it the same way that they did last year? Because that is how it will go. And would you be okay with that?
If they weren't doing what they were doing with the other belts, I would be upset about it. And especially last year was pretty bad in the sense that they did all this work to build up whoever the world title and who's holding the belt to essentially hand it over to Brock. Unify the unification of the 2 titles, and then you going to the 1 title at Money in the Bank. Like, there was a lot of work done for the belt to be put on the shelf, and that was when I was really upset about it. Now I think I'm kind of like, I'm content. And
so you're okay if this is his last appearance until like SummerSlam if he had the belt?
I wouldn't say SummerSlam. He needs at least one more in between, like, somewhere. Like,
it would have to be Money in the Bank, which turns out it actually is June.
Oh, okay.
And
we were trying to figure that out the other day.
Right, yeah. So, yeah, I just hope that, like I said, it would be nice to see him wrestle monthly on a pay-per-view. I can understand if they're lesser B pay-per-views, he doesn't, but I just hope we don't go 4 months like how we went between September and January with him not having a match, right? I understand the prestige part of it, but if he's not even doing vignettes or not in the showing up, then it makes you forget there's even a champion. So let's say they do the double turn. Do you feel that it's a good decision to have Brock as a full-on face, or should he just be a guy who's just running through faces and heels? Because I know a lot of people think that there's no more tweener anymore, but I think if anyone should be a real tweener, it should be him. Not teaming up with anybody, not just fighting heels, but going after, essentially F5ing anyone in his way.
Yeah, no, realistically, I think that's the better approach for him, because you know what, he can't really, it's the best I've seen of Brock, and especially it goes back to what I think you mentioned it before in one of our previous posts. There's a good chance rather Lesnar is portrayed as a heel, fans are going to cheer for him at WrestleMania. So, right. And even going forward, fans are still going to cheer for him because they just love what he does. He goes in and kicks, it just destroys the room. And personally, I would like that rather than him being a face, having any kind of involvement with people, because I think naturally we're becoming more attracted to those real, authentic characters, not any, gimmick to it involved. Because even look at Dean Ambrose out of everyone from the Shield, right? Like everyone loves him for the simple fact he's just raw.
But a lot of people thought that he was going to be the guy to be the heel. Everyone was expecting him to turn on Roman and Rollins, which is funny.
Mm-hmm.
And he turned out to be a pretty decent face. So
Yeah.
I just hope that if they do that, they would put Brock in a position where, he's still going out faces, where faces might still get cheered over him, where he's not full-fledged a good guy, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about Reigns leaving as a heel with Heyman. And we can assume, I think, that there's a chance that if he turns heel, it might not be with him leaving with the belt. It could be with him being with the belt, but let's assume he doesn't. One of the things I've been hearing a lot today since the news broke of Brock re-signing was a lot of people feel that we should see a Shield reunion at WrestleMania. And I at first I thought this is kind of left fieldish a bit, but I'm seeing it more and more written. A lot of people expecting, let's say, maybe not necessarily with Dean, but between Roman, let's say, coming up short against Brock, having a spaz attack at the end of the match, and then allowing and helping essentially Seth come down the ramp and leave with the belt. And then now you have Brock chasing these two guys. I haven't really sat down and thought about it too much, but because I'm seeing it brought up more than I thought I would today, I kind of wanted to get your opinion. Is that something you think that could even be done, given the fact that these guys have essentially had quite a few matches in the past 2 months, or could WrestleMania end realistically? And if so, I kind of feel the crowd would cheer that if it happened, actually, a Shield reunion. But I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? I don't know if you've read it also.
No, I haven't seen that yet. That would, considering Seth's work as a heel right now, that would upset me, to be honest with you, if they did that. Like, Seth is the top heel in the company right now.
He could still stay heel. I mean, Roman, we know, is not going to get cheered.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
I mean,
well, that could be an angle for him to become heel. Like, the fans turned against him, and he's, now it's a completely different angle with him, right? So
is that something that you could actually see happening at Mania?
It's one of those really deep into left field possibilities.
I don't know if I could see it happening officially, like them actually acknowledging that he's helping him. I could just see it more about Reigns just snapping post-match, and then Seth just capitalizing on that. But not necessarily them, getting back together. It hasn't even been a year yet, it hasn't even been a year yet, right? So I just thought I would bring that up because it's something that it's not too far-fetched. It's still the WWE after all, right?
Sure,
so
yeah.
It's not impossible that the show could end that way.
Well, I can consider it a possibility only for the fact that they didn't have a serious program between Reigns and Rollins, right? For that reason only.
Do you think it makes sense for, let's say, they keep Heyman with Brock, Reigns by himself? Does it make sense to have either of those guys win just for Seth to cash in?
Yeah, technically both of them, and the way they've both been built up right now, it would be a waste to kind of quickly kill it off for the sake of a cash-in.
Yeah.
Like, and even then, like with Brock signing back on, the assumption is he's going to be involved in the deep storyline within the title. Like, I can't see him being anywhere else or wrestling someone else not with the belt involved. Like, it's very difficult. It's a lot more complicated now, personally. Like, I know I was the one originally calling for the Rollins cash-in, but now with the way it's been,
I just hate the thought of someone. I just hate the thought of someone becoming a new champion and then losing it right then and there. I hate it. I hated it ever since I saw it happen with Bryan and at SummerSlam when he beat Cena. When Punk had his 1 month title reign and then lost it to Alberto Del Rio. I don't know, but that's different. That was a month. But like the same day, a new champion and a cash in. I don't know. I don't like that. I'd rather, if it's going to happen, that it's Brock that retains by a small margin, gets obliterated by Reigns, and then Seth capitalizes. That makes more sense than Reigns having a spot on Wikipedia as a 5-minute title holder. Like, I just hate the thought of that even. Like, how does that further the story?
Well, in the sense of, he's taking away, like, the biggest moment of his life, and, like, when he could have been celebrating and, like, finally becoming a champion. Like, that angle could get pushed to continue the program.
I get that, but then you have what? You have Reigns and a re-signed Brock going after Seth? Like,
Yeah, that's what I mean. Now it's complicated now, right?
Which I guess is good. It's good because I'm not as certain anymore.
Sure.
But like I said, my expectations are that Reigns is going to win with no help from Heyman, and that's what my mind is programmed to. Anything else is going to be a bonus for me.
Yeah. No, I think it's a bit of that lost. I'll admit, I think even myself a bit. There's that lost hope because we had that maybe Bryan could have jumped the fast lane and beaten Reigns and made his way to WrestleMania for that David and Goliath match we are all would have loved to see. At least with Brock being around for another 3 years, that could happen somewhere down the road. But
right. So I know it's probably going to be moot now with Brock resigning, and I'm sure scripts are being rewritten as we speak in California. But I just got to get it on this podcast. The ending to Raw on Monday.
Oh, that was so whack.
Like even people that don't even follow wrestling can look at that and think how stupid it looks. How, like, I understand that they have to push Reigns, but watching that, I couldn't just help but laugh that this is what I spend 3 hours on a Monday watching. And this is how the Raw before Mania ended. That was the worst Raw. I even put on Twitter, and I even saw people asking, has there been a worse ending to a Monday Night Raw before WrestleMania? And there has not been anything close.
I think that takes the cake, to be honest with you. Like, that was pretty bad. Like, what would you say even, like, throughout? Like, I know it's off topic. Like, I was pumped about the Sting, how Sting had an actual, Sting opened the show and stuff like that. But did you think it was a good build-up before Mania, or no?
I think it did. It got me a little bit more excited. I like the fact that they haven't had Sting touch Triple H since they had the face-off at Fastlane.
Yeah.
Because now I don't know how they're going to interact. I've somewhat forgot how they interacted, which is good, right? And I understand them doing that with Brock and Reigns. I do. But no matter who you're picking to be the star of your company, he has to get his ass kicked once in the feud. He has to. That's just how it's been.
Or look human, essentially.
You look human. You have to look vulnerable.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not even saying that he had to catch an F5 or nothing like that. But you remember when Brock and Cena had their first face-off before Extreme Rules? I don't know if you remember it, but they had the little brouhaha in the ring, and all the wrestlers came down, and Brock caught Cena accidentally, I guess, with that elbow.
Bleeding, right?
It was bleeding from the mouth. And the whole, the whole back room came out and separated the two. Like, that was great. Like, that felt
real.
Pretty legit, pretty real. It felt pretty. Cena's bloody mouth sold it. I mean, they couldn't think of that with Reigns. They couldn't have, like, the guys watching backstage, knowing this is their first interaction since Snowgate Raw, and come out there knowing these guys are about to scrap. They couldn't at least get that in. They had to fight over the belt. And the part, I guess, that made me laugh the most was Roman had no entitlement to even grabbing the belt. Like, if you really think about it in kayfabe, this wasn't a vacant title. You have no reason to grab the belt from the champion. You haven't even won it yet. How are you grabbing it and saying, this is mine? Or I think he even said, let go of it at one point.
Let it go. Like, it was just dumb. This is what happens when you don't have, like, you have people from outside of the business writing storylines. Like, I am so excited. I can't wait for Jimmy Jacobs from ROH to jump to the creative team, because finally you're going to have a wrestler involved in the writing. Like,
did you get a chance to see all the memes the following morning on the Tug of War?
Oh, no, I did not, man. I wish I did.
There was a few good ones. The first one I saw that I really liked was a guy putting the Eggo waffles box between them. And it's basically like Lego my ego. And then the other one I saw, I think it was today actually, I saw it on Twitter actually, it was someone took a picture of Paige, and Brock's holding on to Paige, and then like Roman's trying to pull Paige away from Brock, and like that's how silly that ending was, where like it just gave them people so much material to run with. But like I said, it's probably all moot now though, given the fact that Brock resigned. So hopefully we'll get a decent enough match, and hopefully we'll get a nice crafty ending. But like I said, I'm not getting my hopes up. I just hope that they have a proper plan in place for whoever they pick to walk out of Mania with the title.
Like, even if they had something where, like, the belt got knocked down and the belt's like in between them in the ring, but you said it best right then and there. Roman had no right to grab that belt and be like, it's mine, like a 2-year-old, like, my belt. It's mine.
Like if I'm challenging the guy with a belt and he sticks it in my face, all I'm gonna do is just nod my head like you're right, but I'm taking that from you. Like that's all I'm allowed to do at that moment.
Or even have
like,
him hit the Superman punch. Like they even could have
hit
done
him,
that. Yeah.
or spear him. Yeah.
Even that.
And then
even
like
that would have been better.
and do the usual stand over the guy falling with the belt in your hand. That's what they usually do.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I find it really strange. I can't think of the last time they protected someone end to end like that, where he never was left for dead in the ring. Well, I guess Sting would be one, but that's a whole different story. Mm-hmm. Like Roman should have looked vulnerable, and I now I'm really hoping that they pull the trigger and maybe swerve and have Brock win. But like we said in my last podcast, I want them to see this through. I want to see the crowd crap on him winning, and I want to see how they react on Monday and see the E adjust from there, because personally I feel if he doesn't win it now, I don't know when we'll ever see him in that opportunity again. And that's kind of I wanted to end this discussion is kind of asking you, if they don't go through with it on Sunday, pretty much admitting that they shouldn't have pushed them to this point. Can you see Roman still being in the world title picture? Will the fans ever accept him again in the world title picture? More importantly, as a face, I guess, because as a heel, it doesn't really matter if the crowd likes you or not. You can find a way to get heat, but as a face, he's not getting reactions at all. He's getting not as much reaction as he should. Do you think there's still hope for him to have that title reign like next year? Can they get him back to that, or has the damage been done and it's do or die now? And that's the main question I want to ask you.
Like, first and foremost, I just have to add this, that it's like, I think it's WWE has to really let go of trying to control who's face and who's heel, and trying to force it on the fans, right? Because it just seems more and more every single time it's really blowing up in their faces. Like Rollins excluded, but Reigns is supposed to be a hero and he's being booed. Bray Wyatt's supposed to be a heel and he's being cheered. Like, it's really just like they have no control in it, right? But personally, considering Reigns is like fairly young, he can still have his way one day down the road when he's actually fully. I don't want to join the crowd saying he's not ready or anything like that, but when he's actually being organically pushed and supported by the fans to be the next guy.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you, because we can blame a lot of it on booking, for sure.
Oh, yeah, and that made it, yeah.
I feel that anyone can be saved with the correct booking. I guess I'm asking this from the standpoint of when he had an opportunity to address how fans were reacting to him, he didn't go the diplomatic route. He used that to sort of blame, go at the fans. And I think that's something that maybe fans won't forget no matter how good the booking is. Do you think that's a small minority, though, of people that just won't take him in? I mean, you have half the arena who doesn't react, at least on the live shows. I know people say at the house shows that he gets the loudest cheers, but that's different. Like that, I mean, whatever. I'm talking about it's perception on TV, right? If he's getting cheered in Timbuktu or whatever, it doesn't really matter if he's getting non-reactions on Raw and SmackDown. Yeah. That's how I look at it.
We saw it. Remember when we went through Twitter? I think was it after the Rumble or was it after Fastlane, where we were going through all the going through Roman Reigns, seeing what people are saying, and it was literally the vast majority of people online were bashing this guy, and I think it was only mostly female fans that were like, "Oh my God, Roman won!
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I love you, Roman!" Like, you know what I mean, that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, but the female base is
it's a very minor, small,
has a 25 to 35 male demographic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna get the females cheering, no different than you did with Randy.
Yeah,
but that's not gonna be. I mean, you got to have the kids, really, before the females.
Oh, no, absolutely.
But he's not even getting that. He's getting non-reactions as opposed to... I mean, if he was getting full-on boos, great. Then that gives him a reason to do something. But I'm just curious if they've really stifled him for a while, and if they're going to have to rebuild him from the beginning again.
I think they should, to be honest with you, because it's like... It's one thing when the Philadelphia crowd ripped him apart, even though it's for them to just blame Philly. I thought that was really immature from the WWE's perspective. The Philly crowd's a tough crowd, and it was a terribly booked Royal Rumble, no matter what part of the world you're in. But for it to consistently happen every single time, I think maybe one of his recent appearances he got a little bit of love from the crowd, but it's not enough to put a belt on a guy, especially if he's being portrayed as a face.
That's weird, because a part of me I know that wrestling's a never-ending thing, right? And you're right, he's fairly young. He's, 29, right? I just feel that...
I'm not too sure.
I just feel like from a world title standpoint, it is now or not for a long while.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't see him being in the title picture if he loses over the course of the year. I could see Brock having feuds with Seth and that eventual match with Daniel Bryan and who knows, even another Cena match, who knows. But there's so much other guys right now that he could face where I don't know if they would waste him feuding with Roman, especially if the match doesn't turn out to be good at all. They're not going to keep having these two fight, right? They might have Roman, I think, in the mix while Seth is trying to cash in and stuff. But I'm just really curious to see if how his future will be if he loses. I think that we'll find him in the mid card scene, in that U.S. title scene where he should have been. That's what I can see.
No, they should build him up nice and slow, and that's the ideal route. Start with the U.S. title.
Like if Rusev wins and continues the streak, that's where I think he should go. I mean, if
absolutely.
Brian,
we both said that, yeah.
Yeah, and if Brian's able to do that and end up in the Intercontinental title scene, and he's going to carry that title, then I don't think there's any reason why Reigns shouldn't be able to do the same and be able to accept that, right? So that's what I think should happen. Well, but again, I hope they do a little bit more organically now that they know that Brock has resigned.
No, exactly. Well, at least you know what, there's always those wild cards, like, you know, Money in the Bank, you know what I mean, that where he could win the Money in the Bank and then somewhat find himself back in the title picture, and it's something that he can jump in at any time, right?
That's a great thing. That's a great idea. Yeah, I think that could work. That gives you a couple months to really have him chasing and building himself. I just feel like any time in this next year will be too soon for him.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like the way that the E forced this down our throats for 3 months, I think that's going to sour people for a bit. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they'll just be like, maybe they won't care. Maybe they'll be okay with Brock retaining and they'll soften up to Reigns. But I just don't know. I think any time this year will just be too soon, Sally, for the guy.
Mm-hmm. I
really do.
Yeah.
But I can say I'm very more excited now for Sunday, but again, I'm excited for the ending.
No, it's true, and I'm talking like the very, very end. Like, I can't wait to see what the fan reaction is going to be, rather it's Reigns or rather it's Lesnar holding the belt or rather we get to see a cash, and that's where it's going to be really interesting.
I think the atmosphere will be really good for this. I think it's going to favor Brock still, obviously.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially now that he has resigned.
Mm-hmm.
So people that might have been on the fence about him leaving and it being his last match, they might actually be even more so on his side. And I think if they don't, they're gonna have to really tell a story if they want Reigns to leave as a face and with pity.
Mm-hmm.
He's got to pull it out. He's got to really pull it out. He can't, have that Superman comeback like Cena does, where we all expect it, with a Superman punch and spear and then win clean. Like, it's got to be something where he takes a real beating. But I don't know. I'm hoping we see the double turn, and if not, then I really just hope that Brock retains with Heyman and then continues on, and Seth tries to cash in and make his life a living hell.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, if Brock retains, Seth will have to find him wherever he is, since he won't be on Raw every week. He won't even have a chance.
It's going to be back to like the hardcore title. Brock's going to be gross.
Yeah, anywhere. Yeah, it's like he's going to be shopping the table. And yeah. That's what it'll have to be. He'll have to be like trying to cash in on a plane or somewhere in Minneapolis where he lives or something like that.
Lesnar's tying his shoe, and all of a sudden you just see Seth Rollins curve a stomp, and he has like a referee beside him.
Because if Brock doesn't fight by Money in the Bank, Seth's things will expire. He won't even have it. Maybe that's where they'll go with Seth. He never got a chance to cash it in because Brock never showed up.
That's like the most neutral way to not.
Could you imagine?
Seth a chance.
Like I can't find this guy. And meanwhile, just flips to Brock, who's just like sitting on his recliner watching MLB season opener, and he's just having a beer or whatever, and Seth is like running all over the U.S. trying to cash in on this guy with a ref by his side, and then he can't cash it in. It expires.
That'd be pretty funny, actually. Like, really, really, really funny. I can't see WWE doing that, but I would love that as a fan.
It would be the safest way to get the Money in the Bank off of Seth without having him lose it.
Well, yeah, sure, because we were talking about it a while ago that, it's really interesting to see if he's going to actually cash in and win, or if he's going to cash in and not hold the belt yet, right? Because
I do think if he cashes in, I think it'll be the following night on Raw. If it's going to be, if it's not Mania, which I don't think it's going to be, I can only see it being the following night on Raw because that's where all eyes will be on the show.
Mm-hmm.
I can't see it happening at Extreme Rules.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever pay-per-views after that, if it is Battleground. I got to look up the pay-per-view names. All this switching around has kind of confused me. But we know Drew's Money in the Bank, so it's going to expire then.
Yeah.
But I am curious to see what they'll do with Seth, because I think that's when we'll really know where the storyline's going to head, is what he's doing with the title.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. Like, with considering the way that match was at WrestleMania, not WrestleMania, at Royal Rumble, I can see Seth's only way of prying that belt from Lesnar is if, and he takes advantage of Lesnar when he's completely vulnerable, broken down, and like.
That can only be a Mania, right?
That's it, and that's something that's a really difficult. Like, I'm trying to think about which ways can go, and personally, I kind of like that there's so many possibilities right now, because it's not as predictable, right? So.
Me too.
Who knows?
Well, we'll find out.
Do you think if they had? Sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
Do you think if they had if it was a very close match, maybe if there was some sort of an interference, do you think they would have these guys go at it at Extreme Rules where, they have more equipment to play with, and it's not necessarily the storytelling with their wrestling abilities. There's a lot more of an environment for them to use. Do you think they might throw these guys at each other one more time at Extreme Rules, or?
I hate gimmick rematches where then the other person goes over. I just... I don't know if they would do that. I mean, it would allow one of them to get the victory back. Like, are you saying that if Roman wins and then Brock gets it back the following month type of thing?
Essentially, but I wouldn't even really say like Brock winning it really. Like, just them going at it one more time in a different setting. Do you think they're going to push them any further than WrestleMania, or no?
I mean, that's the time that you can have Seth cash in, because that's where all the weapons would be on display.
And that's going to be where they're really going to put a hurting on each other, right? So,
but just the fact of Seth cashing in at Extreme Rules, I guess it's just such a... I mean, Seth cashing in at Mania or the Raw after Mania, like that has a title.
No, it's true. There's a lot more of a star quality to that, right?
But maybe that's just me in my own head, but I just can't see it being that way. I see Extreme Rules as being a gimmick rematch for either if Reigns wins and Brock wants his rematch, or the other way around, but Reigns won't even get a rematch, or be entitled to one. But I mean, it's not like you need to be. You can just challenge the guy and he accepts if there was supposed to be any sort of interference, right? So, I don't know. I guess it's great that we don't know, because now there's so many possibilities.
It made it a lot more interesting, because even then, like, one thing I think we mentioned before as well was Reigns and Rollins haven't had a serious program yet. So they've had the odd match here and there, but it wasn't anything of significance, right? So I'm really excited. Like, I'm very surprised. I gotta give the WWE some credit here that all of the possibilities and how Lesnar signing back on, like, it's now.
But they did offer him a lot of money for very limited.
Oh, I'm pretty sure. Like, they probably have to offer him a lot of money to get the rub.
He even said it was 10 times what he got offered from UFC, and that when he went back to them, they offered him double what they initially offered. So he's making a good amount of cheddar for a very, very limited schedule. So I mean, I don't know if it's more about props to them or just him getting his money, and we're just happy that he's staying on. But I am happy that he is staying on, and I just hope that they use him correctly. That's all.
Oh no, absolutely. Even if it's just throw him in that Survivor Series and give him another month or two of events, but there has to be something. There has to be something more than that. Yeah.
Well, great. So for all of you listening between now and Mania, let us know if your expectations have changed. Do you think the WWE will now pull any sort of swerves, or do you expect what we initially thought, which was essentially just Wayne's winning clean on Sunday and starting his run as the guy? So let us know. Like, comment, subscribe. Follow us on Twitter under kayfabe6, and we'll hear from you later.
See ya.